Welcome to Firm and Final, and I'm your host, Mehb Koja. And for those of you who don't know, Firm and Final is a show that explores the leaders, past and present, in the self-funding, stop-loss, and reinsurance industry. And today, my guest is James Donnelly. James, welcome to the show.
Thanks, babe.
I think we met a couple of jobs ago for you and one job ago for me. You've been in the advisory space, and since that time, we've had a chance to work together on a handful of projects. And so I'm really happy to have you as a guest on the show. I think our audience will really benefit from your history. Tell everybody a little bit about your resume. Where do you work today? How did you get to where you are? And maybe a little bit about your past that got you to your current role.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm honored you have me on, and I appreciate your very loose interpretation of the word leader in the space too.
Yeah.
So apologize in advance to the audience, but no, again, man, I'm excited to chat with you here. So for those of you lucky enough in the audience not to know me, James Donnelly. So my current title is I'm a senior broker here at Lockton Re in the life, accident, and health division. So who we are is a specialty reinsurance brokerage team under the Lockton Reinsurance umbrella that works with just life, accident, and health companies. Our team was formed about 2 years ago. A gentleman who I worked with at Aon, Rob Krieger, was employee number 1. I was employee number 2 over there. And We've been really building out the practice group ever since. And I've been the broker side of our world for about 7 years now, which is crazy to say out loud. But most recently coming over from Guy Carpenter, where I was a vice president on their New York team in the life, accident, and health space. Prior to that, I was about at Aon for, I think, roughly 5 years, which I'm pretty sure that's where we first interacted.
Yes.
And that was my first job in the reinsurance side and in the brokerage community. And then way back when, before joining the dark side, I was actually in your shoes, Mehb, as an underwriter. I started off with an outfit called IHC Risk Solutions, an MGU up in Hartford, Connecticut. Started off kind of doing the underwriting grunt work. I think it's served me well in my current role. I could still put on the underwriting hat, and I understand the wants and desires of the people I'm trying to get business placed with. And yeah, that's kind of the story, man. So,
how did you get into the space? Like, how did you know that you wanted to work in the self-funding stop loss reinsurance space?
Growing up, my old man was in the space. He's been a reinsurance underwriter for as long as I can remember. Growing up, he actually ran his own reinsurance MGU. So probably when I was around 11, 12 years old, it was a family-owned shop, and I was, crunching census data and helping out, and that's how I earned a couple bucks. So
you got exposed to the business very early on.
My story probably not dissimilar to a lot of the people that have found our industry. It came through a family tie, and really my only goal was to have a job and be gainfully employed and not move back in with my parents. So, this space was something I knew. I had some connections. I had a little bit of knowledge on it, and wound up underwriting, and kind of, the rest is history.
So what did you study at college?
So I was an econ major. Came out of the business school, but econ was my major.
Do you feel like that was a good background and education for your current role in the insurance industry?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, coming out of the business school, I always knew that I was interested in this world. And econ kind of gave me a perspective to think about things critically and, apply big concepts to smaller things. So I think it translates, but it's not like I'm, cracking open the old textbooks to help place reinsurance business in the market now.
It's interesting because I don't meet a lot of people who aspire to be somebody special in the insurance industry. You obviously having family in the business, was there a push to get you to join this industry, or was it kind of whatever James wants to do?
Not at all, man. I mean, my parents have always been incredibly supportive of me. And when I was job hunting, it definitely helped coming out of college. But no, I think if you talk to my parents, they were convinced I was going to try to be a writer or do something in sports. Yeah. And I maybe studied a little bit harder. That could have been a career path. But no, look, it's definitely, I tell this to a lot of people. It's not the sexiest industry on the surface. Yeah. And I feel like if you watch movies or something, everyone always cracks a joke about the insurance space. But once you get in it, man, it's big business. It's good people. There's a lot of action. I recommend the industry to anyone that's kind of looking for a job that enjoys interacting with people. I think is probably the key element to it.
It sounds like you already answered my next question, but I was going to ask you, what's something that you really enjoy about this industry?
Yeah, it really is. It's the relationships and the people, I think, first and foremost. And I think it's especially for the stop loss industry, man. And
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough, like now working at a couple big broker shops where it touches, every line of insurance. And I'm sure it's the same in other lines, but it feels especially to the stop loss industry. It's so people and so talent driven that,
Yes.
connecting to those guys and picking their brains of the smart folks who have accomplished stuff in the space is really what gets me going. And there's a lot going on too.
Yes.
There's a lot of action. My role, it's something different every day. No two deal is the same, even if it's a similar type of opportunity. You're dealing with different people and different risk structure. I mean, it's something different every day. So it keeps the day going by quick.
Yeah, but every day is not roses and sunshine. So what's something about the industry that maybe you don't like or you don't care so much for?
It's funny, man. I would almost say it's the exact same answer. Sometimes it's the people. It's a very relationship and people industry. And anytime you're dealing with people and, especially everyone's got lives outside of the industry too. And
Absolutely.
sometimes this industry moves a little bit slower than you want it to. And you really got to think through what each person is trying to get out of a transaction or get out of a partnership. So it's the best and worst part, I think, about what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the role of mentorship in your career? It's got to be interesting having a father and your father he's still working in the space, correct?
Yeah.
Do you still find him to be a resource for you in the role that you play today?
Yeah, constantly, man. I'm lucky enough, like me and my dad have a really good relationship. We always joke that if we were the same age and went to college together, we probably would have been buddies. So,
Yeah.
now the fact that we're in the industry and doing some of the similar stuff, we constantly just kind of bounce ideas off each other. And it's
Sure.
been super helpful too, especially him in an underwriting role. It's been super helpful for me as a broker to learn again, what the way those guys conceptualize things and how they think about it. And again, I think I'm super fortunate that I grew up in the space and have been around so many people that are still in the industry and have made an impact, that I've got a lot of people that I could just kind of tap and ask questions to. And I think it's a big part of all of this, right? I think that's one of the things I tell people all the time, like just get comfortable asking questions and saying you don't know something, and people are very willing to help. So I think having a Rolodex having a Rolodex of people you can just tap and bounce stuff off of. And you realize, 99% of the people are just trying to figure it out like you are too. And people appreciate that approach.
So fair to say that you seek counsel from other people, not just your father in this business.
Constantly. None of anything I've accomplished is on my own, maybe. Thank God too, because if I was left to my own devices, God knows where we'd be.
What about, when you think about growing a career in 2024, I think a lot of the new entrants in our space are really focused on like professional branding. Is that something that's very necessary for somebody to jumpstart their career?
I think it's important. In this day and age, it's easier to get yourself out there using social media, being active on LinkedIn. It's helpful, but I wouldn't say that's what you should focus on. You should get good at what you do and then use your brand to support that and elevate yourself.
Absolutely. All right. Now, I kind of feel like our industry is going through rapid changes. And so from your perspective, what's something that's going to be massively different in our industry in 5 years?
I think it's two things. Number one, I think it's the people. There's going to be a talent vacuum probably within the next 10, 15 years at the most. So I think we'll see a lot of new faces stepping into leadership roles. So I think the key decision makers on all sides of our business, on the risk side, on the broker side, on the vendor side, I think you're going to see a lot of new people making an impact. And I think number two is just technology too, and the ability to adapt to that technology and embrace that technology. I think the way everybody does their jobs is going to be drastically different than the way people did their jobs even, 2-5 years ago.
Absolutely. Okay. I really enjoy what I do, and I hope this industry is around for a long time because it's been fruitful to me, and I want it to be fruitful for like the next set of practitioners that join. But from your perspective, what's like a major risk that's facing our industry?
I think talent and probably technology, right? Back to what we said before. This isn't exactly the sexiest industry where everyone
Yeah,
graduated, big time schools or coming out of business school or like, I'm going to get into the self-insurance space and try to tackle it. So I
yeah,
think, finding people that can actually do the job and push this industry forward is going to be a challenge, which again, man,
sure.
is why I think what you're doing is great. And if we can get the word out that this is a good industry and this is a place where you can make a difference and do well for you and your family, I think that's
Absolutely.
important. And same with technology, ability for some folks to adapt to it and use it to augment what they do and improve what they do. I mean, just, some of the stuff with like AI and these kind, and, quite frankly, I have no idea what any of this means or how it does. I just know it's going to have an impact. So,
Sure.
getting the knowledge of that and figuring out a way to work it into your routine and have it benefit what you and your customers and your partners do, I think is going
Yeah.
to be really important.
You get to work on a lot of deals. You get to see things come together. You get to help clients and customers kind of come together to solve problems. I wondered if you could just give a little bit of insight to us about like the art of the deal and working on the type of things that people in your side of the fence get to work on.
I think the difference between being a reinsurance broker and probably some other, sales oriented roles is we're not selling just one product and our sales
Mm-hmm.
cycle is pretty long here. So really it is just about having conversations with folks, figuring out what they need and then trying to craft a solution around their needs. And,
Sure.
I mean, right now we work with clients of all shapes and sizes. And I like to say we work with folks of, kind of agnostic of business model. So, my clients and our clients right now range from MGUs, MGAs, TPAs in the space. So folks who might not actually be taking risk, but need product to put on the street, might have distribution channels, might have a niche in something. And we
Sure.
try to marry them up with the risk takers and capacity providers to help make that business successful. I mean, the bread and butter kind of core pillar of what we do is working with the BCS financials and the risk takers of the world and helping them design and place a program where, they get to offload some of, the catastrophic risk or just some of the
Sure.
risk associated with their business. And it's a very kind of sleepy part of our industry too,
Mm-hmm.
but it really is, I think, what drives a lot of the insurance companies' decisions is their ability to find a partner who could help make them sleep at night financially in case one of
Okay.
these gene and cell therapy claims or something crazy kind
Right.
of happens. And then way down the line, it's a nice part of kind of helping launch a division here. We don't say no to anything. And
Yeah.
we're playing more on the financial side of things
Yeah.
too. So using reinsurance as an alternative form of capital to help companies shore up their financial position or raise money
Mm-hmm.
to go out and fund new projects. And then the M&A space is hot in our space and probably has been for the last 5 or 10 years. So
Yeah.
helping
Why is
people,
that? Why is the M&A space so hot in our industry?
there's a lot of growth in our industry. And I think a lot of it's driven. I mean, you look at the stats, stop loss is what, over $30 billion right
Yeah,
now.
probably
So
35 billion now.
that's crazy. Yeah. So look, on the outside looking in, everyone kind of wants a piece of that pie. It's health insurance. It's health makes up a large portion of our GDP as a country.
Yes.
And pending some political decision that hasn't come down yet, it's sticking around too.
Yes.
And I think in, macroeconomic or insurance trends is, P&C has been a tough sledding from what I've heard over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
a lot of big insurance companies look at stop loss and look at the A&H world as a nice diversifier to their
Yeah.
portfolio. So, a lot of these guys have big checkbooks and deep pockets. So if you can acquire a shop that's got a block of business and already has a footprint, it's a way to get yourself into the game. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I would think in your role as an advisor, you got to be really knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. How do you go about learning in the industry?
yeah, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades. And I don't consider myself overly knowledgeable about anything
Sure.
really. And I honestly think the key to it is just being comfortable, having conversations with people and saying, look, I don't know this off the top of my head, but let me get back to you. And then again, I think it goes back to just having people you can trust and being comfortable asking questions and saying, hey, look, I've got a guy who's looking to do X, Y, and Z. I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
about it. What do you think about this? Is there something to do there? And you kind of figure it out. But I think most people respect that approach. And that's how a lot of stuff gets done in our industry.
I'd agree with you on that for sure. Well, we're going to move into some rapid fire questions. And so give me 3 words that best describe a career in stop loss reinsurance and self funding.
I'd say fast paced, dynamic, and oftentimes stressful.
Okay. Outside of LinkedIn, because that's more of like a professional space, professional social media, where are we most likely to find like the personal James? Is it on TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram?
I've got a Twitter. I don't do much on it. I kind of use it just to scroll and kill time in between
Sure.
commercial breaks of the TV show. I've got a Facebook that I keep in touch with my aunts on. But
Got it.
yeah, man, once I got married, I thought the point of social media escaped me a little bit. And if I wanted to get in contact with you, you wanted to know about my life, we just talk like normal people.
There you go. What about somebody new who's coming into our industry? For somebody starting their first job, would you tell them to go down like the broker, advisory, intermediary space? Would you direct them to go to more of like a traditional carrier, maybe stop loss carrier path? Or would you direct them more towards like the next generation solutions, like the point solutions, RBP, captives? There's all that stuff happening that's kind of new and innovative. Where would you direct somebody new?
Yeah. So I'm biased. I think the best place you could land is in the broker advisory space. But I'd recommend if you're getting started, you should start on the carrier side, and namely you should start as an underwriter. I think it gives you exposure to a lot of different elements. And from there, you could really decide what you like to do and pick your career path coming out of that.
Okay. What's one of your passions outside of work?
I'm a big sports fan. I've gravitated more towards the old man sports. I used to play a bunch of basketball, but the knees and back now don't support that as well. So I'm working on my crappy golf game, but playing sports, watching sports, and then hanging with the family too.
You're from New York, so what's like your number one sports team that you like to follow?
Unfortunately, it's been a very one-sided relationship, and I'm as diehard of a Jets fan as you could possibly find.
So do you like the addition of Aaron Rodgers to the team?
I did when his Achilles was intact. Now it's
so that lasted 4 snaps until it was actually snapped in half.
It was an unbelievable preseason, and that run out of the tunnel I'll never forget.
Yeah, well, so was next year, and as a Bears fan, I've been seeing that for many, many years now. So
yeah, it's been next year for the Jets for my entire life. But yeah, sure, man. One day we'll both get there.
Well, here's to hoping that can turn around. What about if you were to do it all over again? Is there a different career path you would have went down, knowing what you know today about professional life?
If I really was following my passion, I might try to do something in sports. If I was, hoping to just make a bunch of money, I might try to get more on the investment side, maybe touching our industry. But I really like what I do. So I don't know if I change anything.
If I could do it all over again, I think I would want to be a sports agent, because I think those individuals need a lot of help making decisions, managing money. You think about a lot of what we do. That's what we do. We help, we advise. We're good with, making financial projections. And if I could apply it to something that I really love, like 20 years ago, that would have been sports.
I like that, man. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like I look at everything kind of through a business lens now. Even watching movies or watching sports, I'm just like, oh, I bet that advertisement must have been crazy expensive, or that's a cool business model looking at stuff. Yeah, it's really dorky. And 20-year-old me would probably
took the fun out of all of it. You made it all about capitalism.
Yeah, exactly, man. I guess that's part of growing up.
What about your take on work from home? So obviously there's a lot of new individuals graduating from college looking to join our industry, and many of them are looking for work from home only jobs. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't recommend a fully remote work environment. I think it's important to have flexibility, and I think there's a lot of efficiencies that were created with work from home. I mean, I know, I think I get more done in a day working from home, where I could just wake up and start knocking out emails, and especially getting started, man. I feel like I've learned so much just sitting in an office, listening to people chat, listening to people getting yelled at or yelling on the phone. And, that's where you learn a lot of the little intricacies of the industry. So I think you need that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, you learn about the intricacies of the business, but you also learn the intricacies of people. And at the end of the day, this is a people business, and understanding what motivates people on your side versus the other side, it's really hard to get that in a Zoom environment.
Yeah, well said, man. For better or worse, it is still kind of an old school industry. And yeah, you got to
Yeah.
travel and go see people and talk. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, people like doing business with people they like and trust. And
Yeah.
you can't build that relationship just over a phone or, on a video meeting.
That's right. So, James, I asked you a lot of questions. I'm going to turn this around on you now, and I'm going to give you a chance to ask me a question, and no question is out of bounds.
I will always like to get, folks in your position's perspective. What's keeping you up at night? Being a risk taker in our space. What are you worried about?
In general, it's about the performance of the business, because you want to be able to provide solutions to your customers and your business partners, but you also have to do it in a way that creates profitability for your own owners and provides like a return on equity. And so whenever I see like the unexpected claim come up, because you know that there's going to be stuff that you have to
Yep.
pay in the year, but I would say what keeps me up at night is that unexpected claim that comes up.
Think the same thing. There has been a ton of new capacity, ton of new
Yeah.
faces, and it's like anything. It's like everything we've been saying, right? This is a talent industry, and
No doubt.
I joke with people all the time, like, if anyone's ever looking to hire a head of an A&H at an insurance company and you're rewarding just based on top line, I could get you
Yes.
$1 billion of stop loss, by the end of the year, but
No
it's not going to
problem.
run well. Yeah,
No problem.
It's a weird dichotomy with what we do.
You will hit $1 billion in top line and probably $3 billion in claims.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah.
If you, well, James, I'll get you out of here with one last question. Just give me a piece of advice for somebody who's new that's getting started in our career path.
Yeah, I think it kind of reigns true for everything I've said. Just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. I think it's always intimidating when you're talking to folks who have been around and accomplished stuff and who are busy, but you'd be surprised, how many people are willing to take some time to talk with you,
Sure.
talk about their role, talk about the space. So I think that's the best way to learn. Just don't be afraid to put yourself out there, make connections, and ask for help. Really, that's how this industry is gonna, push forward.
Yeah, I really like that advice. I think the idea of not being afraid, that's a really good one. And then I would just add to that and say, for those that are in the space, don't be intimidating. Like, be open to helping people, because at the end of the day, when you help people, you're just going to make it easier for everybody. I think that's good for all of us.
Yeah, it's a tiny space, man. So you never know, like the person you help may be, really in charge of something or do you a solid one day in the future.
That's right. Well, James, it was really nice having you on Firm and Final. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Yeah, appreciate it, babe. Good talking with you.
All right, we'll talk to you later, James. Take care.
Take care, man.